Hey folks, welcome back on The Pursuit of Wealth. Today is Thursday, October 15th. It's Rod with Pow Group, and I'm still traveling at the moment, so we'll keep this video a little shorter today. Currently traveling Vancouver Island, so should be back to my regular setup here in a couple of days and checking into a hotel there soon later on today. So likely do an update for you folks tomorrow, but just as a heads up, next week we'll be back to the regular schedule. So in today's video, I want to talk about the second shutdown potential. We saw some new developments in the UK, in London specifically. We'll also discuss the US jobless claims and lack of stimulus raising concerns, and Fastly and Aphria absolutely getting slammed today after the earnings report and some news about TikTok. So make sure to like the video if you enjoyed the content today and consider subscribing to the channel. Taking a look at the US jobless claims, so we came in 53,000 ahead of what was expected. So last week we had 845,000. We were forecasting 825,000. It came in at 898, so that was a substantial miss and definitely raising some concerns in terms of the economic recovery. We saw that Mnuchin and Pelosi were going to resume talks again today, and that Mnuchin was basically willing to give up some ground in order to strike a deal. And Trump also said that he would raise his offer. So we'll see if there's any new development by the end of the day into tomorrow on that. So we saw stocks slump at the open and stalled on stimulus and European lockdown. So we saw that London is starting to ramp up the restrictions and basically closing down restaurants, and in France as well. So the European countries are starting to lock down again. If you recall, they were the first to lock down the first wave as well. So we did see that European stocks closed 2.1% lower as stimulus hopes fade, and they see more surges in the sickness around the globe. And we also saw that Kamala Harris halt her travel through Sunday after two people in her campaign tested positive. So definitely very concerning right now with the amount of cases and the lack of stimulus and the continuing jobless claims that continue to come in. So taking a look at SPY on the daily time frame, we did pull back significantly today. We hit a low of 343.13, bounced off EMA 12 support, and we'll see how long this daily bounce can last. Essentially, we're just going to look for an hourly trend change to be confident that the daily high or low is set. And maybe you are a bull who has been waiting for a higher low to load up on this move from the low of 319, and to be confident that the daily high or low, if you're a patient bull, maybe you're waiting for an hourly trend change to be confident that the daily trend change, the daily high or low is set. So as you can see, we haven't formed an hourly high or low since this bounce from 343. So any pullback from here, I would just expect an hourly high or low. Bulls have lots of space to form that higher low and higher high into a trend change. Taking a look at QQQ bouncing on the daily as well. So didn't quite get to the EMA 12, but we essentially did fill that gap here at 285.79, hit a low of 286.54. So we didn't quite fill the gap, but like I said, we'll be looking for the hourly trend changes. So hourly trend changes are a must, and all eyes on the hourly time frame to be confident that the daily high or low is set. If we fail to change the hourly trend, then we'll just look to potentially top out and look to find support at EMA 26 on QQQ. But like I said, we didn't test EMA 12, so we could look to form some support there as well. Taking a look at US oil on the daily, we did see a huge bounce on oil. It did hold the higher low support of 39.07. We hit a low of 39.25, and next resistance that we'll be looking up toward is 41.44. Taking a look at gold, so gold seeing a bounce as well. Ultimately still within this descending triangle. So I drew it on the weekly. Bring that up here for you folks. So you can see that we're still respecting this descending triangle and could look to tighten up into the election and go sideways for another few weeks. So pretty much all I had on gold for you folks. Taking a look at the dollar. So the dollar did see a bounce as well. could potentially see a inverse head and shoulders here on the daily. So if we do pull back, we could look to the 93.30s, 93.40s range to form the right shoulder of that inverse head and shoulders. And we could easily negate that pattern as well if we just break to a higher high here, but all depending on the stimulus talks and the status of new cases, that type of thing. So taking a look at the hourly, we did form an hourly higher low and higher high. So we are in an hourly uptrend. So most important support on the hourly is 93.63, 93.62, and we'll look to the resistance at 93.90 as the most important short-term resistances. But essentially in an hourly uptrend, so we can be confident that the daily higher low is set down here at 93.01. And if we can get over that, then we don't have any real resistance until 94.74 on the daily time frame. See if there's anything else on the overview for the indices. That's pretty much all I had for you guys today. XLV, XLF, all the other sectors basically just going in the same direction as SPY, waiting for direction. And we also saw that Fastly had some news that essentially TikTok wasn't going to be using their services as much as they would have hoped. So we were down over 25%, currently down 26%, but absolutely crushed. And I feel bad for anybody that did hold this. We were outside of the daily Bollinger Bands, and the EMAs are starting to curl here bearish as well. So just an absolute waterfall, and feel bad for anybody that's holding this. So down 37% from the high here from a couple of days ago, and we don't have any daily support down here until the 77.53 level. So I would be extremely cautious on this name. We are seeing record volume here on the daily time frame. Looks like that is the most volume yet in the history of the ticker. We do have earnings coming up on October 28th as well, so not expecting volatility to subside anytime soon in this name. And we also had APHA, so Aphria, reported earnings, got absolutely destroyed, missed the EPS by 0.02, and their sales increased sequentially about 18%. Revenue was, wasn't terrible, but essentially the EPS is what drove this lower, and a lot of people were expecting more from the earnings, myself included, but because of how hard we ran into earnings, I don't really think the numbers were that bad personally, but because of how hard we ran, that's why we're pulling back so significantly here, because you can see we ran about 50% from the last daily higher low. From the actual low here at 417, we've run over 50%, so looking at about 55%. And from the high, we're down about 26 and change percent. So again, the harder things run into earnings, they absolutely have to crush them. We're seeing huge bear volume. I trimmed my APHA, it was in the 560s. So I sold a little early in the I think it was 569 was my fill when I sold. So obviously could have held till 643, but I sold in the 560s. And I knew that and I wasn't looking to hold over earnings. So I entered around the daily higher low. So I think I filled around the 430s, sold around the 560s, made huge gains, and was just looking to lock in that profit and remain protective. And this is why we want to make sure that we're not, risking our profits, or at least take some off the table, and could potentially use puts or calls to sort of limit your risk there as well. But definitely hurting the sector today. I did sell some of my Canopy Growth as well from the huge run up that it had into the $20. I did add some Aphria back today. I added some on the, I think it was 485, and I just added another position at 475. So taking a look at the daily, we're just looking for a daily higher low. We didn't form any daily higher low support all the way on the way up. So we don't have any daily higher low until 428. So just keep that in mind, that we don't have any daily support for at least another 11% of downside. So if you are looking to enter like myself, just make sure that you plan for that and maybe look to scale in on any potential entries. So that's pretty much all I had for you guys today. Again, it's Rod with POW Group. Thanks again for joining us on the Pursuit of Wealth. Have a great night, and we'll talk to you tomorrow.